What's up, everybody? Bob from Crossing Broad here, and you may know if you watched our video from last week that we had the Eagles to beat the Falcons on Sunday Night Football, and that looked pretty good in the final minute until, well...
Blue 42! Blue 42! Kill! Yeah, what?
And just like that, the Eagles are now 1-1 and sort of face a must-win situation at home at Lincoln Financial Field this Sunday afternoon against the Detroit Lions. There won't be any Deshaun Jackson as we record this video. Alshon Jeffrey probably won't play, and same goes for tight end Dallas Goedert for a suddenly undermanned Eagles offense. And I think that that has a lot to do with the spread that we're seeing in this game. As we record this video, the Eagles are a 6.5-point favorite, minus 260 on the money line, total set at 47. This one actually opened up over 7 points, but in light of the Eagles' injury issues, and they are so banged up, in fact, that they didn't even practice on Wednesday afternoon. They instead held a walkthrough, something we have not seen since Doug Peterson's been in town. That is why this line is now down under 7 points as we talk about this one. Something to keep an eye on. Now, from just a simple betting trend standpoint, it was another close loss for the Eagles on Sunday night. It was a heartbreaker, and if it feels like that all of the Eagles' losses in recent seasons with Carson Wentz is under center have been gut punches and close losses, that's because they have been. And I'll be honest with you, as much as we like Carson Wentz, if you look at this trend now dating back to the middle of last season, the Eagles and Wentz are 1-6 against the spread as a home favorite. So this has been a bad spot for the Eagles, and they've had a hard time really with Wentz under center closing out close games. The other thing is, and this really shouldn't be no surprise as these two trends sort of go hand in hand with one another, since the start of last season, Doug Peterson as a home favorite is the worst cover coach in the National Football League. Now, that doesn't mean that the Eagles don't win at home. In fact, they're 16-4 in their last 20 regular season games at Lincoln Financial Field. But over their last 8, they're only 2-6 against the spread. So Doug Peterson as a home favorite in recent games, in recent history, has not been a great bet. Two mild concerns that I have ahead of this game. As for the Lions, they're a little bit of a tough team to figure out. They had a big lead out in Arizona in week 1, and then they blew it in the fourth quarter, settled for a tie on the road against the Cardinals, and then last week at home they had an upset win over the Los Angeles Chargers. And that was a big game. They're undefeated technically through 2 weeks. The one thing I would say about that football game, though, was that LA in that contest had an injured kicker. The punter had to take over field goal duties. He missed 2 short field goals, a 39 and 41-yarder. Phillip Rivers late in the game with a chance to tie or take the lead through a desperation interception into the end zone on a 3rd and 19. And earlier in the game, Austin Ekeler fumbled at the goal line. So that game probably was one that the Chargers really let get away from them. Lions made their share of plays, and the defense has been pretty stout for the most part with the exception of the fourth quarter in week 1 against Arizona. But that being said, the Lions are probably a little bit better right now than people are giving them credit for. So if you just take a look at this, and we'll start with the offensive stat comparison first, a couple things that jump out at me. You know, everybody talks about the Eagles having this high-powered offense, but through 2 games, they actually average almost a full yard per play more than the Eagles do at this point. And you can see that their red zone scoring has been a little bit more efficient as well. It's 66.67% compared to the Eagles and only 50% in the red zone. Eagles, however, much better on 3rd down conversions. You see completion percentages are about the same. And then the run-pass distribution, you see that the Lions have run the ball much more than the Eagles have in the early going. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, this is my concern. You saw a struggling Eagles offense against the Falcons, a Falcons defense really that I thought the Eagles could do more against. Obviously, the situation, the way that the game played out, you had Jeffrey, Jackson, and Goedert out almost immediately, and that wrecked Doug Peterson's offensive game plan. So I'm willing to kind of excuse that to an extent, but this Lions defense under Matt Patricia has been much better in year 2. You see here that they have the edge in opponent yards per play, opponent's points per play, the opponent's completion percentage, almost 10% less on the completion percentage to this point, and opponent red zone scoring, only 28.57%. The Eagles have struggled in the red zone really over the last 2 years now, and the Lions have been pretty good through 2 games. Certainly a small sample size. We can't look too much into this, but early on, the Lions are definitely playing a little bit more of an efficient style of football, certainly on the defensive side. All right, so I know I'm not painting a pretty picture for Eagles fans here so far. So why would one want to bet on the Eagles, or what can we rely on in terms of trends that might give an Eagles bettor a little bit of confidence? So the Eagles this season are one of 9 teams yet to cover a spread in the NFL. So what I wanted to find out was, how do teams do when they don't cover their first 2 games, or how do teams do when they don't cover 2 games consecutively? So let's look at a couple different things here to shed some light on that. So when teams that fail to cover its first 2 games play a team in the 3rd game of the season, so this is specific to week 3 or a team's 3rd game, and that opponent is coming off a cover at home, as the Lions did a week ago against the Chargers, those home teams are 8-4 against the spread. So 2/3, 66% winning percentage here. Feel pretty good about that from a contextual standpoint. The other thing here is home favorites of at least 6.5 points against a team coming off a cover are 15-8 against the spread and 3-0 against the spread in September. And regardless of being a dog or a favorite, they're 11-5 at home in such games. So the fact that the Eagles have yet to cover in back-to-back games, playing a team that's coming off a home cover does bode well for them in this particular contest. The other thing that I want to look at, we already talked about how Carson Wentz has struggled 1-6 dating back to last season against the spread as a home favorite. Let's flip the table, though, and look at what Matt Stafford's done recently as an underdog and when he's on the road, and it's not pretty, all right? So Stafford's 2-7 ATS, has won, however, 2 of his last 3 in this spot when he's a dog of between 7 to 10 points on the road. Now, we're sitting at 6.5 right now. It could get back up to a touchdown depending on how the line moves throughout the course of the week. He's also 4-9-1 against the spread when he's an underdog of 7 or more. Weirdly enough, though, this 6.5 number is a little bit concerning because as bad as he is when he's in this range, when he's an underdog of exactly 6.5 points in this situation, he's actually 3-1 ATS, which really is why trends can't be the end-all, be-all when we look at these games. But overall, Stafford has struggled as a road dog with bigger spreads. And then finally, I want to look at how the total relates to this game specifically and what Stafford's done in certain situations. We're currently sitting at 47 points. When the total closes anywhere between 46 to 48 points, Stafford's 4-11-2 ATS on the road and 2-7-1 against the spread as a road underdog. So Stafford, as a road dog, around a touchdown to 10 points. Not very good. He's not very good in this spread range on the road as an underdog as well. When you break this game down and you just look at it for what it is, you have a desperate Eagles team that really, truly needs a win, especially ahead of this Green Bay game. They can ill afford to go 1-3, especially when you consider that Dallas is going to get the Miami Dolphins this week, and they follow that up without Drew Brees when they take on the New Orleans Saints. Cowboys could very well be 4-0 at the quarter pole. Eagles need a win in this game. All the motivation in the world should be there. I like the Eagles to win, and I like them as a teaser option, and I know this seems like a cop-out, but I am not confident without this team having its top 2 receivers, or being possibly without its top 2 receivers, in backing them in this contest. I would stay away from it if I had to take it. If I have the Eagles to win, I'd lay the points, but I would do so reluctantly. I do like them as part of a moneyline parlay or as a teaser option. I'll go with the Eagles, but I'm thinking it's going to be a 3 or 4 point game. Now, if you want more information on this football game, please take a look at our full betting breakdown on crossingbroad.com. We have this game covered. We have another handful of games covered around the NFL in Week 3 as well. And if you're looking for betting information, you can also visit crossingbroad.com, and you will see that across our pages as well.
Blue 42! Blue 42! Kill, kill!
Blooper reel.
Blue 42! Say hut! Kill, kill! Hut! Blue 42! Say hut! Kill, kill! Say hut!
Oh, shoot! Never got there.
Blue 42!